Hey, what's up, guys? We're back with Travis here with his Overlord deck profile. Let's say post-set 13, but that feels a little bit of a dated thing to say. So we're just gonna go with Overlord. Take it away, man.
Oh yes, this is my bread and butter deck. I love this deck. It's been playing Kagero since the game started, and I don't plan on stopping. The new series has got me really pumped up, and even though everyone knows what this deck does, I figured I'd post it just for ending the series' sake, and I will definitely come back with a premium deck
Once
profile.
premium hits, this gonna be some crazy shit.
Hopefully. Starter is Conroe. I obviously, this card is crazy. It used to be banned. It really isn't actually that crazy. It's kind of just a normal card, actually. He just offers a lot of consistency, searching for the grade 1 Conroe or Doombringer High Flame, which is really nice. He's just really offers a lot of utility to the deck that it needs. The card you always want to ride in this deck is the Destiny. His on-ride skill and being a right face skill is really useful for getting rid of resist units and lock cards against the Link Joker matchup to clear up your own board so you can call rearguards. And his on-stride skill is really amazing too. Blast 1 and retire an opponent's rearguard. And you can look at the top 7 for an Overlord and put in your hand. So it's kind of like a +2 for Blast 1, maybe. Most of the time. But it's just a really strong card in general. It really carries the deck. This deck, like, honestly, people think that the Purge is the most powerful card in this deck, but it really is the Destiny, because it makes the Purge actually usable, the cost actually manageable, and it clears out, it kills 2 rears every turn. It helps with Ziegenberg plays. It's just such a good card. My alternate grade 3 is Dragon over the end. I actually don't play the cross just because I want to play 8 grade 3s, and I just figured I'd play 4 of each grade 3 for the sake of Ultimate Stride. And I mean, honestly, I want to be edgy, and I want to pick up 4 rebirths, just use those. But with the new series coming around, I just don't feel like spending $30 on them. So the end for now. You don't really use this at all. You always ride this, and like I said, the only purpose of this is simply for the sake of Ultimate Stride, just so you have 2 grade 3s that are 4 ofs, so you have the chance of doing it. Is really nice. For the grade 2s, it's really self-explanatory. For Glow Heater, for Evolute, and for Nahalem. They're all really strong cards in their own regard. Glow Heater's a 10k base, which is really nice, and Burning Heart and Evolute on-call retires a rearguard for just a Soul Blast and a reveal of an Overlord, which is really nice. And they both have the really amazing skill. If you have a grade 4 Vanguard with Overlord and its original card name, they get 2k for each card in your opponent's damage zone. So at 5 damage, this is the 19k beaters, it's a 20k beater. With the 7k, it's 26 row. It's really, really nice. They're just big beasts on their own and work really well as stands. Now, Hollow, on the other hand, doesn't work really well as stands, but he's a stronger beater on his own and on the restanding turns with Ziegenberg and the Ace. He says when your Vanguard swings, he gets 5k. When your grade 4 Vanguard swings, he gets 5k, and if you have a Vanguard Overlord, it's 2k. So when your Ziegenberg double attacks, he'll be at 21, which is really nice, just to have a standalone beat stick. And that's kind of the big deal about these grade 2s. They're all just standalone beat sticks. You don't need boosters for them, which is nice because you don't really have any boosters in this deck. Not ones that stay around anyway. For grade 1s, the only usable PG in this deck is the Unflipping PG. It's nice. You use a lot of Counterblast in this deck, and it's definitely welcome. But I personally wish we would have gotten a better PG by the end of G. The fact that this deck still uses the counter-charging PG is kind of pathetic, honestly. For Doombringer High Flame, just a really, really strong... This card is really, really strong. He says when you call him, you can return 2 Overlords from your drop zone to your deck, and then you shuffle it, draw a card. So it can be on-call +1, and it reloads your deck with Overlords, so you can hit the Destiny skill more often. It's just really, really nice. And you can set this up a lot sooner with Conroe, which I'll explain in a moment. And on the field, he retires himself to Stride. Now, one thing that's really interesting about him is it's at the beginning of your ride phase. So if you're let's say your opponent rode to grade 3 first, and you had this on your field. If you are at grade 2, then you can retire this because this is the beginning of the right phase. This doesn't say you have to have a grade 3 Vanguard or anything. You just retire it, then you can ride your Destiny and then free stride into the Purge, which is really, really nice. The fact that this basically isn't GB restricted, which is really, really good. And like I said, you can set it up his free draw really early with Conroe. I actually only play 3 because I like to play 2 Stride Fighters. But his skill says it's basically the Stride Fighter skill for revealing a grade 3 and then searching another grade 3. Like you basically use this as a glorified Foolish Burial to speed this up and get a free draw early game. So this can help you swarm the board early without losing too much advantage. Conroe's real big deal though. Oh, also he makes sure you always ride Destiny because you never want to ride the end. But his other skill is when your Vanguard with Overlord and his card name attacks, you countercharge 2 if you retire him to give your Vanguard that skill. So on restanding turns, you countercharge 4 with Ziegenberg. That's basically countercharge 3, and Ace is countercharge 2. But it's just a really it basically also makes their cost free, which is really, really good, and you really need this card in this deck. Usually you only have to resolve 1 and you have enough counterblast for low game because this deck's really counterblast heavy between its G guards and all its skills. But this card really helps you get through it. And between the Protect Orbs and the heals, you're pretty much fine. And I play 2 Stride Fighters. They're just extra ways to stride. So between 8 grade 3s, we have 4 of these and 2 of these, and then this can search out more grade 3s. We have really consistent ways of striding. Something that a lot of decks don't really have option to, and the fact that Conroe can search out any of these options just makes the deck all that more consistent. It's easy to see why people favored this deck a lot at the BT13 days. Nowadays this deck isn't nearly as strong with the power curve, but it can still go toe to toe.
Yeah, I mean there was a lot to say for a deck just being like 100% consistent, basically.
Yeah. Another searchable card with Conroe is a heal trigger, which is amazing because you have your own Mirror Force G Guardians. Is really nice. Obviously, you play the countercharge one. You use both skills a lot. It's just really nice to have. Interestingly, I only play 2 draw triggers. I actually prefer this because I like my other triggers more. I don't really use the starter killing effect often, but it's there in case I need it. And putting in the soul is also really nice because you don't have a lot of ways to get soul for the Destiny skill, and along with Evolute. But draw triggers I only really prefer them on the defensive, which is why I only play 2 because I'm actually a lot more aggressive when I play this deck. So I actually play 4 stands and 6 crit. I specifically play these stands. They're really Spire Yelp's really good. You can throw down. You usually always hold on to these. You never really want to guard with them. One thing I also like is because I'm playing less draw triggers, I have more 10k shields on my deck, which I much prefer because this deck doesn't really get as much free card advantage as most of the meta decks do, and you really have to be smart with your card economy, and you just have to squeeze all the value of every card that you can.
Yeah, its card advantage is much more. It has a lot of advantage, just not in the form necessarily of hand advantage.
Yes, and one thing this card does well is that it gives you much more offensive capabilities than if this were first, say, crits. One thing that this deck's really good at is pushing your opponent to 5 damage, but once they're at 5 damage, crits don't really matter anymore. So that's when you really want to be hitting these stands. And with 5 drive checks, you're almost always guaranteed to hit the stands. What this card does is you put this back in the deck, you choose a rear guard and give it 5 and you draw a card when you're blazing. So since blazing activates on the first attack of the turn that your opponent has less rear guards than you, you will always basically be using this at the beginning of the battle phase. But sometimes you might have to attack a rear guard to get it off or something like that. But it's just really good to have because they shuffle back in the deck before you attack, so you can drive check them. But you also give power to the dudes that you're trying to restand. So let's say a glow heater, he's swinging for. He was originally 20, now he's 25, and now you can hit a stand to make him 30 and stand. That's really strong. I specifically play different crits, mostly because they're foil, and I I just play different crits just to be more confusing to my opponent. Now, I'm not as confusing as it could be with 6 different crits, but, you know, I like shiny triggers, so just play them like that. I used to play more stands, actually, or more draws, but I find that crits still have a lot of merit in this deck, because one thing that's really nice is just to push your opponent to 5 damage instantly on the first stride, and then be able to stride Ziegenberg on the second stride as long as they're still at 5 damage, which has way more pressure than striding Purge, where you can just, you know, PG it. There's a lot of merit to crits in the deck still. I know most people don't doubt it, but I still like it that way. But I definitely would not go play an Overlord deck without this card, because he's just so good. For the G Zone, we play 4 of one of the most iconic strides on this deck. The Purge. He's just incredibly strong. You kind of just stride him every turn. You flip up a unit in your G Zone and put an Overlord from your hand into a soul once per turn to deal your opponent's Vanguard damage if they're at 4 or less. And the trigger that, if they get a trigger off of it, it's nullified, which is really great, because it's just one less thing you have to worry about. And it also puts cards into your soul, which is really nice. So one thing that's really good is you put the grade 3 into your soul, you Soul Blast for the Destiny skill, you put it back in your deck with the Griffin, and then you add it back to your hand with the Destiny skill. So you've got a whole loop of advantage going, which is really nice about this card. And the really amazing part about this card is the GB3. He has drive checks equal to the number of cards in your opponent's damage zone, so you can potentially have less, but most often you'll have more. 5, in fact. It's really, really strong. The flip fodder usually for him, I play a Seabreeze and a Sengrave. Seabreeze is actually really nice in this deck because you can actually undo the cost with Conroe. So if your opponent is in that corner or is intentionally trying to stall, you can just slap it down and try to go to town on him. If you have 3 open counterblasts, it's definitely really nice, especially when you have Conroe. And then I play, this is also really good. You specifically stride this on your first stride when your opponent has 3 rear guards and you can get Blaze. So you stride skill, kill one, well, you Destiny skill, kill one, stride skill, kill another, and then you call 2 rear guards, and then he'll be blazing, and he'll be able to kill the last rear guard and you draw a card. All for basically counterblast 2, soul blast. Basically, in total, you'll be counterblasting 2, soul blasting 1, killing 3 rear guards, drawing a card, and getting an Overlord to your hand, which is pretty nice card economy. Usually don't go into him too often, but I very much like his option. Usually the Genius is part of the Genius fire, but definitely a very strong card in his own right is the Ace. Very outdated card, but still important nonetheless.
Old Faithful.
Very much Old Faithful. He's basically Victoplasma, but on his restand he gets 5k, but you have to discard an Overlord, which is not a big deal because your stride skill can give you one. And since he's an Overlord with he's an Overlord stride, him and the Purge are the only strides you can go into that give Burnhorn Evolute and Glowheater Dragon their power. So it's still important to play him. It's just you don't use him very often. The fact that he swings twice is also nice in a way. If you can load up your deck with enough stands, you can do formations where you have him, you have a Glowheater Dragon to attack, and then attack with him, get a stand, restand, he restands, attack, attack, and you might get another stand to restand and attack again. It's something I've done before. It's tacky, but it's something you can do. I very much like this card, and obviously you wouldn't play without it. You just don't use it too often. Sometimes he'll be your flip fodder or Jesus fodder.
He gets a little better once those new rules hit, though.
Oh yes, yes. You can. I'll definitely be playing more copies of him after that. The card that outclassed him really is Ziegenberg. Most people play a lot of him, but I actually don't play many of them because I don't find I strided him nearly as not enough to warrant playing 3 or 4. Because usually the Purge is going to be one of your primary strides. What he does is you can Soul Blast one of a copy of himself to retire an opponent's rearguard. You're usually not using that too often unless you need the GB3 for a second skill because you G-guarded into him. His GB3 is you counterblast 1, and discard cards equal to the number of your opponent's rear guards. And after the battle he attacks, if he was blazing, he gets to restand with -2 drive. Now, if your opponent has no rear guards, you discard no cards, which is really amazing.
Yeah.
It's really nice, and it's a lot of advantage. So you basically get 4 drive checks for free, and for just basically a counter blast.
Discarding no cards is good card economy.
Oh yes. Conroe works really well with him because it's only a counter blast, so you basically counter charge 3 with his skill with his, which is really nice. And Nahalem gets a lot of power off of this. Unfortunately, striding into this restricts your ability of using Evolute and Glow Heater, but if you can throw down double Nahalem, it's definitely worth it. And the fact that he doesn't flip up himself to actually restand is really nice, so you can just use one and then use another. Because you typically won't need his skill to retire a rear guard. It's just a nice thing to have. I don't personally find it too big of a deal. And the last stride is no other than Drachma. A really strong card in his own right. I really like him. Even if, for the most part, he's kind of one of the weaker ZRs. He's definitely has a lot. He offers a lot to his deck. You Counter Blast 2 on Stride. He's an ultimate Stride. And you Tire Bind all your opponent's rear guards and their Vanguard. Then your opponent chooses 3 cards from their hand, discards 2, rides 1. So you can potentially downgrade your opponent's Vanguard, which is really, really strong. And
Yeah,
I don't really think there's too much to say about that.
Yeah, like by comparison, he's probably one of the weaker like ultimate strides, but I feel like in the context of his deck, or decks, I guess, he does the most, or at least a lot more than some of them do.
Oh yes.
I think that's the best way to put Drachma. He offers you something that can't be gotten any other way in this deck too.
No, he definitely could be an ace in the hole a lot of the times. He won't really steal as many games as he will secure the wins. And to me, that definitely makes him worth it. Definitely, I guess you could say money well spent, in my opinion. For the G guards, I actually probably play Biodiversity more than most people. Defeat Flare, usually don't use him too much, but he's just a really strong blowout card that everyone has to pay attention to lest they lose to it. When you G guard with him, you Counter Blast 1 and put 2 grade 3s at the bottom of your deck. If you have an Overlord Vanguard, you retire your opponent's entire back row. This gets around Resist because it does not target, and it puts Overlords back in your deck, which is really nice. You just have to set up for it for the most part. And this can just be really strong against random decks that need their back row, like a Dimension Fleet player trying to Laurel you.
Golds.
Yeah, golds. Any deck with Jeffrey clones, you can get them. You can sneak them if they attack with their Vanguard first. There's just all kinds of decks that this can really screw up.
Like if your opponent doesn't play around it, they can get hardcore punished, and if anything, they do have to play around it, so you gotta play it.
Yeah. Strangely, I play a Silor Dragon, specifically because there's so much resist going around in a lot of the aggro decks that Denial Griffin can't deal with. So just having a card that just gets shield, because there's no other card in Kagero that just gets shield for guarding. So I figured it's...
Guard Griffin? Excuse you? Mister, I've been playing Kagero since day 1. Are you fucking Guard Griffin? Yeah.
But that's really all I play him for. He's usually flip fodder for this card, if anything, but he can be really good in his own right also for just being able to block attacks without Denial Griffining, because sometimes your opponent only has like 2 rear guards, and you know you're going to kill him anyway by using the Stride skill, so why waste the Counter Blast to kill him on Denial Griffin to then do it again?
I can definitely see what the resist part too. There is so much resist right now.
Yes, it can be really irritating. Just having that little bit of extra shield can sometimes make a difference against a deck like Asha or something like that. Another card that some players have to play around is... Advanced Guard Dragon. He's kind of like the Denial Griffin, but for back row. You have to Soul Blast 1 and flip up a dude face up, which is nice because it can accelerate GB count if I was playing the GB8. But that's what I used to do with it. But he's just a really strong card in his own right. He can snipe out really pesky boosters. Like for example, against the Hellheart 8 deck, when they swing with their dude, you can just G-Guard with this and kill the Frog Raider so they can't get any more power on that column. And sometimes that can, if they didn't attack in the right order, that can actually stop the whole turn from being too deadly and possibly make it survivable, which is really nice. It's just a nice thing to have. The G-Guard meant to block Vanguards. His skill is really strong if your opponent's not playing around it. He gets plus 10k for each of your opponent's open rear circles, but it only works when you're guarding. You can only use it when it's Vanguard on Vanguard. So it can block really powerful strides like Gilded Array or anything of that sort, but usually don't use it too often. It costs a Counterblast, which can be kind of annoying considering all these cards cost a Counterblast, some kind of resource to use just to get guard value. But it's just a really strong card in its own right, and the potential for really high shield values is just really strong. And obviously, the card everyone hates, Denial Griffin. Everyone knows what this does.
Do I even need to?
Yep. The only real disappointing thing is that resist units really fuck with this card, you know. You can't kill a resist unit with this card. So, I mean, that can just get in the way and put a damper on things. But for the most part, every deck has to play around this card, you know. Any deck with stands, you can just instantly punish them by trying to go for the stand. By basically, if they get the stand, it'll be wasted. If they're playing any type of combo deck like Victor, stop anything if they don't have the dude. Or any type of multi-attack deck, this can really put a damper on. But for the most part, it's really not too difficult to play around these days.
Nah, it's not nearly as oppressive as it used to be.
No, it's nothing like it used to be. But that's the deck. It's not really... I personally don't play it too often anymore. It's not really my tournament deck right now. I've been playing Regalia for the most part. Although I do still love playing this deck, and I will never get rid of it because I love it so much.
It's the old faithful.
Definitely.
And I mean, Premium's right around the corner. Whatever new stuff comes in, you know, it's like Nahalem and, you know, just all of the Overlord support cards are still going to work fantastically with anything that Overlord can get to use in the new series. Like, this is probably be the king of Premium once, like, VSET 1 actually drops on us.
Hopefully. I'll be definitely ready to test the hell out of it.
Oh, it's going to be a lot of testing. Look forward to that on the channel. Anyway, anything else you want to say, man?
No.
Right. Well, thanks, guys.